In this video, I'm going to explain you Act 2, Scene 5. This scene is in continuation with the previous scenes, and in this scene, the plan of elopement of Jessica and Lorenzo will be carried forward. This scene also has a dramatic irony in sense that Sherlock trusts his deceitful daughter and he asks him to take care of his house and possessions, whereas she is making plans to betray him. So this scene takes place in Venice before Sherlock's house. Enter Sherlock and Launcelot. Sherlock. Well, thou shalt see that I shall be thy judge. The difference of old Sherlock and Bassanio. So he is saying that you will see and your eyes will judge the difference between Sherlock and Bassanio. So he is trying to tell him that he was treated better in company in under the services of Shylock, and he will not be able to enjoy the same while he's serving Bassanio. And in between, while he's talking to Launcelot, he calls Jessica. What Jessica? Then again he starts talking to Launcelot. Thou shalt not gourmetize as thou hast done with me. Gourmetize means overeat. So he says you will not be allowed to overeat as you have done with me. So this is what he has said here is totally in contrast with what Launcelot has told his father, old Gobbo. If you remember, he had told him that I am famished in services of Sherlock and you can even feel every rib of my body with your finger. So he was not given proper food according to him. Whereas Sherlock is saying, what Sherlock is saying is here is totally opposite to what he had said to his father. He said you will not be allowed to overeat as you had done in my services. Again he calls Jessica. What Jessica? And sleep and snore. He says you will also not be allowed to have enough sleep in services of Bassanio. And rent apparel out. He says you will not be allowed to rent apparel, wear out clothes quickly. Why Jessica? I say. So again he calls Jessica. So in the very first extract, Sherlock has asked Launcelot to compare that he could himself compare the treatment given to him by Sherlock and Bassanio. He says he will not be allowed to overeat there, he will not be allowed to sleep and snore for long hours there and wear out clothes. So he has given he stated three things that he could see the difference in Sherlock and Bassanio while he's serving Sherlock and Bassanio. Launcelot, why Jessica? So now Launcelot has started calling out Jessica. On hearing this, Sherlock says, who bids thee call? I do not bid thee call. He says, who has told you to, who has asked you to call her? I did not tell you to do so. So on hearing this, Launcelot says, your worship was wont to tell me that I could do nothing without bidding. He says, you used to tell me, wont means accustomed. He says that you were the one who used to tell me that I do not do anything without being ordered. So he says that you has already, usually you had told me this, that I can't do anything without being told or without being ordered. That is why I have called Jessica without your telling. Enter Jessica. Jessica, call you? What is your will? So Jessica is asking now, did you call me? What do you want? So she's asking her father that what does he want? Why is he calling her? Sherlock says, I am bid forth to supper, Jessica. There are my keys. So he is telling Jessica that I am invited for a supper and invited to dinner. Jessica, here are my keys. He hands over the key of his house to Jessica. But wherefore should I go? So then he is again in sort of doubt that should he go or not. Wherefore means that why should I go? So he says, why should I go? I am not bid for love. He says, I am not invited because the Christians love me. They flatter me. He says, they have invited me just to flatter me, to pretend to have goodwill towards me because he had lent them, he had given them 3,000 ducats, no? So he's saying they are just pretending to have a goodwill towards me. Otherwise, they are not inviting me out of love. Moving on to next page. Then he says, but yet I'll go in hate. He says, still I'll go in hate to feed upon the prodigal Christian. Prodigal Christian here is referred to Bassanio. He says, I will go because of my hatred. I shall go to eat food at cost of the Christian, that is Bassanio. Jessica, my girl, look to my house. I am right loath to go. So he again says Jessica to take care of his house. I am right loath to go. He says that I am unwilling to go to Bassanio's dinner. There is some ill brewing towards my rest, for I dreamt of money bags tonight. He says that there is something troublesome taking shape and it will disturb my rest. So he is sort of predicting that something bad is going to happen to him. He had the intuition that something bad might happen to him. So he's saying there is some ill being plotted to destroy his peace of mind, because he says, I have dreamt of money bags last night. So dreaming of money bag was considered to be a bad omen, and something bad would happen. If anybody dreamt of money bags, that means something bad is going to happen. That was beliefs of those people in that society, that if anybody dreams of money bag, then something bad would happen to that person. So same is what this Shylock is feeling now. He said, I had dreamt of money bag last night, and that is why I feel that something evil is being plotted against me to destroy the peace of my mind. So see, in this, through this we come to know that somehow Shylock could foresee that something bad is going to happen to him. So Launcelot says, I beseech you, sir. He says, I request you, sir, go. My young master doth expect your reproach. He's saying, I request you, sir. My young master expects you to be there at the dinner party, so please go. Shylock, so do I. He says, I also expect him waiting for me. I want him wait for me. So I'm expecting the same. Launcelot, and they have conspired together. So Launcelot is saying they have planned something together. So planned something together here could be that they have planned dinner party as well as masquerade together, mask procession. So two things are planned together, the dinner party and the mask procession. I will not say you shall see a mask. He says, I do not suggest you that you should see the mask. But if you do, then it was nothing that my nose fell a bleeding on Black Monday, last at 6 o'clock in the morning. So he says here in these lines that if you go to the mass procession, if you participate in the mass procession, then something bad would happen to you. See, here this Launcelot teases Shylock about his superstitious nature. So earlier also when he mentioned about money bags, no? So that through that Shakespeare is trying to show how people were so superstitious. And here again, by mentioning all these silly omens of his own, now Launcelot is trying to tease Shylock about his superstitious. He says, see, nose fell, then somebody's nose fell a bleeding, means when somebody's nose bleeded, that was again considered a bad omen, means something bad is going to happen. If somebody's nose bleed, that means something bad is going to happen. And Black Monday is also, it is a Monday following the Easter. The Easter is a festival celebrated by Christians. So Monday that follows the Easter is known as Black Monday, and it is considered to be a very unfortunate day. So Launcelot is saying that my nose bled on Black Monday at 6 o'clock in the morning. So he's saying that my nose also started bleeding on Black Monday at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now in this extract, Launcelot is telling Shylock that the Christians have planned something together, that is the dinner party and the masquerade. He says, I do not say you that you should see the mask, but he says, if you do, then something is going to happen to you without any reason, as it happened to me. He said that my nose started bleeding on Black Monday at 6 o'clock in the morning. So he's saying this happened to me, and something bad could also happen to you if you participate in the or if you go to the mass procession. He also added saying, falling out that year on Ash Wednesday was 4 year in the afternoon. So Ash Wednesday is a day when people put ashes on their forehead to remind that man is made up of dust, and they shall turn into dust after they are dead. So they will again turn into dust. So in this line again, Launcelot is saying that 4 years ago Easter fell on Ash Wednesday in the afternoon. So it is absurd of Launcelot when he talks of Easter Monday and Ash Wednesday falling on the same time, because there is a gap of 40 days between them. So Launcelot is not making any sense at all. He's just trying to tell Sherlock that you should not participate in mass procession, because then something bad is going to happen to you. And by making Launcelot talk like that, Shakespeare is also mocking at the superstitions that prevailed in those era. So how people were so superstitious and they believed in so sort of silly omens. So that is what he is trying to portray. Shylock, what are their masks? Here me, Jessica. So Shylock seemed to be shocked on hearing that there is mask procession also. So now he is going to give instructions to Jessica that she should follow. He says, listen to me, Jessica. Moving on to the next page. He says, lock up my doors, and when you hear the drum and the wild squealing of the weary-necked Fifi, clamber not up to the casement then. So saying, I should lock up the doors of my house very carefully. And he says, when you hear the sound of drum and wild squealing, wild means unpleasant noise, squealing means shrill notes, unpleasant noise and shrill notes. He says, when you hear the unpleasant noise of weary-necked Fifi, of weary-necked is a long-necked. Fifi means a musical instrument. So he says, when you hear the sound, the unpleasant sound of the Fifi, that is a musical instrument, clamber means climb. He says, you should not climb up to the casement then. Casement means windows. He says, he gives Jessica instruction that she should lock up his doors, and then he also tells her that when she hears the sound of drum and when she hears the unpleasant squealing or unpleasant sound of the Fifi, then she should not climb up to the windows, nor thrust your head into the public street. He says you should not also peep out your head into the public street. She should not peep out at the window to gaze at the public street, to gaze on Christian fools with varnished faces. See, as I've already told you, when these Christians, they participated in mass procession, they usually painted their faces. So he says you should not gaze, you should not look at the public street to see the Christian fools who have painted their faces. To stop my house ears. He also tells her to stop my house ears, I mean my casement. He says you should close all the windows of my house. So what has he instructed him till now? He says that lock up my doors, and when you hear the sound of drums and the shrill notes of this Fifi, you should not climb up to see from the window, and you should not stretch your neck out to gaze over the public street at Christian fools with painted faces. And she also says that you should close all the windows of my house. Let not the sound of shallow foppery enter my sober house. It says that shallow foppery means stupid sounds. He says that you should not allow the sound of vulgar shows enter my sober house. So he doesn't like the people participating in masquerade, and he says Jessica that she should close all the doors and windows so that sound of the mass procession does not enter his sober house. By Jacob's staff, he swears by Jacob's staff, I swear I have no mind of feasting for tonight. He says that he swears by the staff of Prophet Jacob, and he says that I have no wish to go out and party tonight. Feast tonight means party tonight. But I will go. He says, but I will go. Go you before me, Sirrah. Say I'll come. He tells Launcelot that you go in front of me and tell your master that I will come. Launcelot, I'll go before, sir. So he says, okay, I'll go ahead of you. And then he whispers to Jessica, Mistress, look out at window. For all this, there will come a Christian by, will be worth a Jewish eye. So if you remember in the earlier scene, we were told when Lorenzo asked Launcelot that where are you going? So he said that I am going to Shylock's house to invite him for the dinner party of Bassanio. And on hearing this, Lorenzo told him to convey a message to Jessica that I will not fail her. That means he will be carrying forward all the things that are being planned by both of them. So that was mentioned in the letter. That means. So Launcelot very cleverly conveys Lorenzo's message to Jessica in these lines. He says that you should look out of the window because a Christian will come who is worth your eye. So Jessica is told by Launcelot to look out of the window as there will be a Christian, that is Lorenzo, who's worth attention of a Jewish lady. He will pass by your house. That is why he says you should look out of the window. Shylock, what says that of that fool of Hanger's offspring, huh? So Hanger's offspring here means he's talking that Hanger's offspring is referred to because he says Launcelot is sort of abused by calling him descendant of Hagar's, who was also a slave woman. Hagar was a slave woman maid to Abraham's wife. So by calling him Hanger's descendant or Hanger's offspring, he is trying to, show him inferior. So he's saying, what are you talking of? What are you saying? Jessica, his words were farewell, mistress, nothing else. He says he is just bidding me farewell and nothing else. Shylock, this Patch is kind enough, but a huge feeder. Patch means for this fool man, this foolish person. So he's saying that this Patch is kind enough, but a huge feeder. So now Lancelot has already left. Now Shylock is, giving his, he's telling what he feels about Lancelot. He says that he is a foolish person. He is a Patch. That means he's a fool. But he's kind enough. But he says he feeds a lot. He eats a lot. Then he says, snail slow in profit. He says he's very slow in work and that is why he does not bring much profits. And he sleeps by day. And he says he sleeps almost every time. He sleeps during the day. So he compares him with snail, those who are known to be very slow. And he says he's snail slow in profit. He's very slow at earning profit. And then he is also compared to cat. He says he sleeps by day more than a wild cat. He says he sleeps more than a wild cat. He's very lazy. Drones hive not with me. So drones hive means he's an idler who should have no right to live with me. So drone is a male bee that does not search for honey, but he lives on the stored food. So again, Shylock is compared to a drone. That means he is very lazy and such persons, he says, should not live with me. So Shylock calls Lancelot a foolish person, but he says he's kind. Then he says he's a huge feeder. He compares him to a snail that is very slow, and he says Lancelot is also very slow because he works very slowly and does not bring much profit. Then he compares him to a cat because he sleeps a lot, and he also compares him to a drone that is a male bee because he is very lazy. Therefore I part with him. He says that is the reason that I have parted with him. That is the reason that I wanted him to leave my services. and part with him, that I would have him help to waste his borrowed purse. He says there is another reason that why I have parted with him, because he says that I want him, I am prepared to let him go to the person to keep him waste the borrowed money. He says that I want him to waste the borrowed purse. Borrowed purse here means that the money Bassanio had borrowed from Shylock. So he says, I want him to waste that money. So I've made him serve Bassanio because I want him to waste his money. Then he talks to Jessica. Well, Jessica, go in. Perhaps I will return immediately. So he's telling Jessica that you should go inside. And he says, I will return immediately. Do as I bid you. He says, do as I've instructed you to do. Shut doors after you. He says, you should shut down all the doors when I go. Fast bind, find. Fast bind, fast find means it is a proverb that means that if you lock up everything, you will find it safe and secure. So the proverb never stale in thrifty mind. He says the proverb is never too old-fashioned for a careful man. Thrifty mind means careful man. He says that a person who is careful, he always follows this proverb, that if you keep your things locked up, you will find them safe. Jessica. Now, after saying this, Shylock goes. He exit. Jessica, farewell, and if my fortune does not cross, I have a father, you a daughter lost. So he says that if nothing goes wrong, not crossed means if nothing goes wrong with her plans. So Jessica has planned to run away with Lorenzo. If her plans are carried as per decided, if nothing went wrong, if nothing goes wrong, then if nothing went wrong, then she would definitely lose a father, and Shylock will lose a daughter because she will run away, she'll elope from there. So he's saying, unless I have bad luck now, I have lost my father and you, your daughter. So with this, the scene ends. I hope you have understood. In case you have any doubts, do let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much.